Hello and welcome everyone. In this video, I will show you how to deploy the Bold Reports report server in Amazon Elastic Kubernetes services with Istio. The Bold Reports report server is a reporting platform designed for creating, managing, and delivering interactive reports. It lets you embed reports into web applications and manage access through role-based permissions. It can be deployed on Windows, Linux, Docker, or cloud platforms. Now, let's look at the hardware and software requirements for deploying the report server. The hardware requirements are a CPU with 2 or more cores and at least 4 GB of RAM memory. And the software requirements are a database like Microsoft SQL Server, PostgreSQL, or MySQL, a command line tool like kubectl, AWS CLI, or Istio CTL, and a web browser like Microsoft Edge, Mozilla Firefox, or Google Chrome. Now, let's start the deployment. I download the highlighted deployment files from the Bold Reports Kubernetes GitHub repository. A link to the repository is in the description below. I am using Visual Studio Code in this demo, but you can use your editor of choice. In these files, deployment contains the configuration to create and manage the pods using a replica set. The destination rule file contains the necessary configuration for the destination rule, including the traffic policy for the associated Kubernetes service. Configuration in HPA is used to automatically increase or decrease the number of pods in response to the workload's CPU or memory consumption. Istio Gateway contains the configuration for the Istio Gateway resource, including the port, protocols, and routing rules to use. log4net_config contains configuration settings that are used to view the application logs in your Kubernetes console or store the logs in a file. Namespace contains configurations that will be helpful when different teams or projects share a Kubernetes cluster. Next, pvclaim EKS contains the configuration for where we will provide the information for the file system and file share. Service provides a single point of entry for accessing 1 or more pods. I have already created a Kubernetes cluster in Azure to deploy Bold Reports. The next step is to connect with the Azure cluster. I open PowerShell and navigate to the folder where I have downloaded the deployment files. I run this command to authenticate Azure. This asks me to enter the AWS Access Key ID. So I do and press Enter. It asks me to enter the AWS Secret Access Key and then the AWS region code. You can get the region code from the AWS website. I enter JSON as the default output format. Next, I run the command to update the kube config. In it, this represents the region name and this represents the cluster name. I run this command to deploy the CSI driver. It will create all the necessary CSI drivers. I have to configure the file storage for the pods. I have created the EFS file system to store the shared folder for application usage. I make a note of the file system ID, which will be used in the next step. I open the pvclaim_eks.yaml file. Enter the volume handle ID value with the file system ID. And save it. Next, we need to get the Istio Gateway external IP address. I run this command until I get the IP address. In this demo, I am going to deploy the report server using this IP address. If you would like to set up the report server with a domain, first you need to map the domain name with the IP address. And then you can directly add the domain name and TLS secret name in the istio_gateway.yaml file. By default, the application will be hosted in non-SSL mode. If you want to configure SSL, we need to add the domain and SSL configuration in the istio_gateway.yaml file. Before configuring SSL, I need to create the TLS secret with the SSL certificate by running this command. Bold Reports TLS is the secret name. This indicates the paths for the .pem file and the .crt file. You should use your domain SSL certificate. Then we need to remove these lines. and uncomment these lines. You should replace example.com with your domain name. I am going to deploy the application using the IP address, so I am not doing that. Next, I open the deployment.yaml file and replace the domain or Istio gateway external IP address in the application base URL. If you want to use third-party data sources like MySQL, Oracle, and PostgreSQL in your report, then you need to install them while deploying the report server. If you want to install more than one client library, separate them with commas. I am specifying MySQL, Oracle, PostgreSQL, Snowflake, and Google BigQuery. I run this command to create a namespace for Bold Reports. Bold Service is my namespace. Next, I run this command to create the config map. Then I apply the configuration from pvclaim_EKS by running this command for creating a persistent volume PV and persistent volume claim PVC. I apply the configuration in the deployment file by running this command for creating and managing pods with a specified number of replicas in the provided image. I apply the configuration in HPA_EKS for setting up autoscaling for the Kubernetes horizontal pod autoscaler. And then I create all the services by running this command. You can see that the services are created. Next, I apply the configuration in the Istio gateway by running this command. It routes traffic to services running in the cluster based on their URL paths and host names. Then, I run this command to apply the configuration in destination rule. It applies to the traffic policies defined in the destination rule to the specified service. Once all the deployment files are applied, we need to check the pod status. To do that, I run this command. I am waiting until all the pods are running. Let me run the command again. You can see all the pods are running. Now the report server is ready for startup. I open the browser and navigate to the domain or IP address provided in the application base URL to configure the report server. As you can see, the Bold Reports Enterprise Server startup page has loaded. On the administration page, I fill in the required fields and click Next to proceed to the database configuration page. The first option is Shared Database Mode. In this mode, all tenants share a single database with data logically separated using unique identifiers. This approach optimizes resource utilization, reduces infrastructure costs, and simplifies maintenance while maintaining data segregation. The second option is Separate Database Mode. In this mode, every tenant has its own dedicated database, so that data is separated. This improves security, allows independent management, and enhances performance for each tenant. I choose the Separate Database Mode and click Next to go to the database configuration page. The Bold ID database stores information about sites, users, and their access permissions. The Bold Reports database stores reports, users, and their resource access permissions. You can choose between two configuration modes. Simple mode configures a single database for both Bold ID and Bold Reports. Advanced mode configures separate databases for Bold ID and Bold Reports. I proceed with default simple mode. You can choose from Microsoft SQL Server / Azure SQL, PostgreSQL, MySQL, or Oracle databases. Here I select the default server type Microsoft SQL Server / Azure SQL. Based on this selection, the form will refresh, displaying fields related to the chosen database. I fill the necessary fields. Then I need to choose a new or existing database from the selected server. By default, New Database is selected. I enter Bold Services Kubernetes as the database name. You can modify the database schema, ID table prefix, and server tables prefix values if needed. These prefixes will appear in your table names within the database. Enabling SSL provides a secure connection between the report server application and database, encrypting the data. I proceed with the default values and click Next to open the account activation page. There are 3 options available to activate an account. If you have a Bold Reports account, you can activate it by using Login to activate. If you are working in a secure environment without access to an external server, you can activate an account using the Upload License File option. If you don't have a Bold Reports account, you can proceed with a 30-day trial. Since I have a Bold Reports account, I log in to activate it. If you have multiple licenses, it will ask you to select one. If you have only one license, this will be skipped. On the Reports page, sample reports that were already integrated into the report server can be added. I click a report, and it opens in a new window. In this video, I have shown you how to deploy the Bold Reports report server on Amazon Elastic Kubernetes service with Istio. To learn more about Bold Reports, you can visit boldreports.com. To try Bold Reports, you can start a 30-day free trial by clicking the Try It Free option. If you want a demo from an expert, you can schedule a call by clicking the Request Demo button. If you found this video useful, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.